Welcome to the Modern BioPharma Podcast. The world of today's medicines is big, complex, and constantly changing. Our goal is to give you insight into the people that are manufacturing the medicines people need every day, whether it is the people taking care of these facilities, or those building them, or those maintaining the quality and integrity of every dose that is delivered to the patient. We interview the people that are making it happen and give you a chance to get to know them while we're at it. Thanks for saying hi. Hello, everyone. Welcome again to another episode of the Modern BioPharma Podcast. This is Jesse, and we have a special guest on today, Merrilee Whitney from MilliporeSigma. How are you doing today, Merrilee?
I am doing well. How about you, Jesse?
I'm doing well. I'm at home, seems like most of the world, and enjoying my home office. Are you working from home now, or are you in the office? What are you doing?
So yeah, I'm mostly at home every couple of weeks. Since I have part of my team members who are lab-based folks have to be in to do experiments in the lab. I go in every couple of weeks for a day just to show support and be there to help them and support them where I can. But yeah, it's a whole new world out there. So it seems like we focus on work, what we're going to have for dinner, and how to use our leftovers appropriately. So
have you ever had so many at-home meals? I have not.
No, that is no.
That's great. Yeah, and I bet traffic on 128 is a little better than it used to be.
Yes, it has definitely been a lot better of a commute when I do go into the office. So
I haven't done it for 2 months, so I have no idea. All right. Well, hey, so what we're here to talk about today, I got to actually attend a webinar put on by Millipore, I think it was a couple weeks ago now, in reference to their new Bio4C software suite that they have just launched. And I was just impressed by it. This is a little bit outside of my area of experience, but I'm all about trying to get exposure to the technologies that are kind of pushing the boundaries of what we're used to. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know how much this is pushing. I'm excited to learn more about that today. But Merrilee, your title is Head of the BioContinuum Platform per LinkedIn. Yes. And if you could just share a little bit about your time there at Millipore and what you're doing there right now?
Sure. So I have been at MilliporeSigma now for 13 years. That was as of last September. And I've had a multitude of different product management and marketing roles focused in our bioprocessing business. So the business that really focuses on providing the systems and the consumables that aid our customers in the biotech industry to manufacture the drugs that are so critical to patients around the globe. So it's been I think a really great adventure. I've had a lot of exposure to probably most of our portfolio, but most recently in 2017, I was asked to come in and take over an effort to develop the portfolio around the next generation of bioprocessing. So how do we help our customers and the industry move from batch manufacturing to intensified to continuous manufacturing? So started as a team of one and built up this really great, I'd say we're almost like a little startup within the more established bioprocessing organization. And it's been a great adventure and as you said, a great learning experience for me as well.
That's great. So what I want to do is I want to just start from a pretty basic level, and we're going to sort of work our way into some of the stuff that I can see on your website. You presented in your webinar, sure. But just a little bit of an overview of what you guys are trying to accomplish there in your group. So real quick, explain to me how you define bioprocessing. It's kind of a big generic term, but you guys have your own specific play in that, or you guys do a lot of things in that. You're military. So explain to me what bioprocessing is.
Yeah, so to me, and to I think to our organization more broadly, bioprocessing is really the manufacturing, development and manufacturing of biotherapeutics. So, for example, monoclonal antibodies, vaccines, plasma, So really looking at the large molecule space as opposed to small molecule, traditional pharma kinds of areas. So really focused in on the biotech industry.
Right. Okay, good. Okay, so something you mentioned, you said you've been doing this for 13 years, and my question was going to be 15, but we'll go with 13 instead, just to make it more contextual to you. So,
Sure.
So how have you seen bioprocessing change over the last 13 years?
So, it's interesting. There's been a lot of changes, I would say, in what our customers are trying to derive from their processes. I mean, when I first started, a lot of the manufacturing facilities were focused on, a single drug comes out of a facility. And now what we're seeing is our customers are really trying to leverage these assets that they have built in these manufacturing facilities and have multiple products going through there. So, I think that's one big change. The drive to optimize their processes and get as much out of it as they can. The drive towards from stainless steel moving towards the implementation of single use has been another one. And then more recently, with the release of the technology roadmaps coming from the Bioform Operations Group, or BPOG, seeing that drive from batch manufacturing to continuous is the other big change.
Yeah, so continuous manufacturing, we all hear a lot about it, and I've been able to have a few guests on already that have been very involved in some of those new facilities that have gone up. So it's pretty exciting to see. I've done a lot with more of the old school setup personally, but I'm up here in the Boston area like you, so there's so much of the new facility and the new single use technologies and whatnot. So I'm excited to continue to see that grow. So something that I thought was pretty interesting, and I'll have to tell you, when I first saw it, I was like, I don't know, I can't follow it all the way. I need more time on this. You have this thing, and you talk about your system as this convergent bioprocessing. So more of a way of viewing, maybe not current bioprocessing, but certainly what's coming in bioprocessing. And you have a graphic that's talking about what convergent bioprocessing is towards the new facility of the future. And I was wondering if you could just sort of walk us through that. And again, this is a podcast, so in some ways, some people are going to listen. We're going to try to talk through that, but for people that watch the video, I'm going to put this up so that they can see it at the same time.
Okay, sure. So, what really crystallized for us, and as we read through kind of that voice of the industry through the Bioform Operations Group, is it's very clear that the industry is really facing unprecedented pressures, right? There's more molecules that are coming through the pipeline. The level of uncertainty in any given molecule that's been identified as having potential to actually making it through to be a drug that will treat patients is very high. The cost pressures that are in the industry are really increasing rapidly. And I would say that the other element of this is obviously the new modalities that are coming onto the market. If you look at, for example, cell and gene therapies, right? There's all these pressures that are coming to bear on our industry. And what I think they've really recognized is if we're going to maintain our competitiveness, just further optimizing a process isn't going to get us where we need to be, right? We need to make a step change in the fundamentals of how we manufacture drugs and bring them to market. So the Bioform Operations Group has set some pretty lofty targets of how they feel those step changes need to happen, right? Increasing the speed of getting a facility up and running, and increasing the speed in the time it takes to manufacture a drug, from just straight raw materials to finished drug substance or drug product. How do they improve go ahead, Jesse.
I was just going to ask real quick, just to give context for that. So how long does it take to manufacture something sort of the old way versus what they're striving towards in more this future set? What would that look like?
Yeah, it takes weeks to manufacture a drug, right, in a batch processing mode. What the other complicating factor is before they can release it and have it go and be available to patients, there's certain safety tests that have to happen, right? You have to make sure that it's free of viruses, that it's free of bacteria. And some of those tests can take up to 45 days. So it takes a couple of weeks to manufacture, but then you've got these release tests that have to happen. And so, as a drug moves through the manufacturing process, it becomes more and more valuable. And then you've got this finished drug that's extremely valuable that patients need. And yet you've got to wait an additional 45 days before it can actually make it into the hands of a patient. Mm-hmm. So that's roughly the time frame.
That's a long time.
It is a long time.
Yeah.
It is a long time, especially when some of these therapeutics are so critical and in such high demand, right?
Yeah, and we could make a vehicle in like 5 hours in a Ford,
exactly.
manufacturing plant, but a drug takes, weeks. It's pretty amazing, the difference.
Exactly.
So the future, what's the future state look like then? I mean,
future state, yeah. So, what I would say is some of these biological processes are the biological processes, right? It takes a certain amount of time to produce the protein of interest. So the manufacturing process, you may be able to shrink it down to a week and a half or a week. But where some of the real benefits are going to come in terms of speed is how do we get to what they call real-time release? So can we take that release testing that takes 45 days and somehow develop the technologies that could get it down to 2?
Interesting. Okay, cool. So I'm sure I tripped up our train of thought by interrupting you there, but we were going through this chart and you were explaining kind of the BPOG and where they were at, which is where I interrupted you and asked you that question.
Oh, no worries. So, looking at the quality aspects of how do they improve quality and robustness through automation, for example. So, there's in a very paper-based type of environment, like a lot of manufacturing facilities are today, there are errors that can happen in transcription when, we're humans, right? We can make mistakes. And so if you can automate some of the data transfer and the processes, you can eliminate some of those errors and improve the quality of your processes moving forward.
So I'm sorry, but I'm going to keep on interrupting because
That's okay. That's why I paused.
So we do this, everything is or has been very paper-based, or physical. It's very physical, right? Person has to be present, things like that. So when we talk about a new software suite like this, which is kind of all-encompassing, really, in what it can touch, has there been much? Maybe that's the wrong way to ask it. What kind of resistance have you seen in regards to introducing something like this to the market?
Actually, I would say there's a real thirst for it in the marketplace, right? Oh. So if you look at, our customers are trying to become more efficient, right? And they recognize that these paper-based systems are really a drain on their efficiency. So when we get to talk about, Process Pad, thinking about the fact that you have these highly skilled resources that when they have to, do reports every month or every quarter, or they have to do an investigation when there's been an error in the process, you have this highly skilled labor force that is spending 80% of their time gathering data and only 20% of their time actually analyzing it. There's this incredible thirst for people to be able to really use automation so that they can better leverage their resources within their manufacturing facilities.
Oh, that's great to hear. I've heard of a lot of changes, even in the last 2 months, in some ways, just because of the inability of everybody to be on site at a manufacturing facility, and that, hey, we got to do things differently. So in knowing that I was going to be talking to you, and I've actually heard that from multiple people. I'm like, I wonder if that's, if you're almost getting, requests just because of that, that there's so many places that are going, hey, we can't have somebody there to sign everything off. How can we streamline this and do it all online or cloud based? And anyways, I'm curious what kind of effect this 2 months that we've been stuck at home is going to have ultimately on this kind of business.
Agreed. I think we're anxiously looking for that too.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So just to go back to this graphic real quick, and we can move on. So
sure.
You have these different things: process, format, analytics, and digital. So you have these four areas, and then you have your near term, midterm, end state. So you have these four things. And then where we're at now, where we're at, a little bit in the future, a little bit further out, where we're trying to get to. So, I mean, how does what you guys are doing fit into that? Are you feeling like you're pushing all the way to that end state, or are you sort of in the process?
So I would say we're in the process, and I think we also recognize that the biotech industry is highly regulated, right? So you don't just make massive changes like this evolution is showing overnight, right? And so, we're really taking this as an evolutionary journey along with our customers and along with the regulators as well, right? So how do we make these step changes, keeping that facility of the future, the ultimate goals in mind, to get to a fully continuous single-use manufacturing process with real-time release, right? That's, where we are, and we want to take that journey with the industry.
Okay, cool. So with what you guys are building right now, is it set up in a way that you could sort of take it on stepwise? Like,
yes,
yeah, it could do all of this right now, but sort of the industry kind of doesn't accept quite all of it yet, right? The regulators they're not ready for it, but when they are, we'll be ready to sort of step right in.
Yeah, and I just back up for 1 minute, Jesse, and say, what we're really taking on is this approach, this convergent approach, right? And what we're saying is that in order to help the industry get to this end state of the facility of the future, it's not just only going to be about process technologies. It's not just going to be about analytics. It's not just going to be about automation. If you really want to realize this future vision, it has to be the convergence of all of those elements together. I mean, certainly any one of them alone will drive benefit for our customers. There's absolutely no doubt about that. We're seeing it right now as customers look at different processing technologies, like moving from fed batch in their bioreactor to perfusion operation. That drives certain benefits for them. But if you really want to get to this manufacturing facility of the future, it's the convergence of all of those things that will help to realize that benefit. So what we're doing is developing the process technologies, the process analytics, and the automation that will help our customers achieve that convergence and realize the benefit.
That's good. That's interesting. So yeah, you can't build a two-legged stool, right? We need all three legs, or it's only going to be quite so beneficial. So it's interesting, and I mean, not a lot of organizations can pull that off to be able to sort of join all of those things at once. So it's definitely a pretty interesting development.
Certainly, one big piece of data, right, that drove us in this direction. But being a very technical, data-driven organization, we certainly do our own market assessments and research, where we go and we interview customers and we talk to them. So we've got our own internal market research team, market intelligence team, that helps us to do those things. So that's another place. I would say, secondly, there's a clear pull from our customers. Whether it's large strategic accounts, the big name players on the market, or even the more mid-size and emerging customers who are definitely, there's a strong pull from them in the marketplace. But third, I would say, go to any conference in the industry, whether it's BPI, the BPI series of conferences, whether it's Interfex, any of them, and you will see significant, substantial tracks of the conference for technical presentations, et cetera, around, the facilities of the future, continuous manufacturing. How do we intensify and evolve our manufacturing processes? So, there's pull from customers, there's our own market research, and then I think there's just this, it's so clear from any of the industry, conferences that this is a really key focus area.
Yeah. So I'm actually curious personally. Obviously some of the big boys do this, and a lot of the little. What does that look like? Have some of the more, you'd say, well-known pharma companies, have they been pulling it as much, or a lot of these newer like cell and gene therapy type companies that are popping up like everywhere? Where have you seen, most of the demand at this point for this?
So most of the demand that we've seen right now, it hasn't been with cell and gene therapy, although I think that that is going to be kind of I would imagine would be the next evolution, right? I think they've got
they don't really have the manufacturing yet, right? We're
exactly
on the verge of all that. So
yeah, I think the cell and gene therapy segment of the market is so focused on the speed and trying to get things, drugs out the door, that they haven't reached that same level of maturity as having a templated process yet, right? So I think they're at a little bit different place. But where we're seeing it is really the biggest implementation right now is with some of the larger, more established customers who have existing infrastructure, and they're trying to get more out of those facilities, right? They want to go from a single product facility to a multi-product facility. And how do they do that without significant capital expenditures and building a whole new plant, right? Now, in some cases that will have to happen. But really the first step we're seeing is customers trying to remove bottlenecks in their existing facilities. So they'll implement some of the different elements of, like I said, going to perfusion, and different processing technologies that can help them get more out of their manufacturing process.
Yeah, I was curious because you got most of the big ones are like batch processor type scenarios. So I was curious how that would actually develop with them. So that's a very interesting development for them for sure. Okay, so if we could, let's just can we just walk towards sort of ultimately what the software is, what the software does, and
Sure.
Sort of if you could almost I don't know if there's sort of a partial implementation to a full implementation. What kind of things are involved in that?
Yeah, so the software that we launched a couple weeks ago that you were, thank you very much for joining. We're able to see our virtual launch in this brave new world is the Bio4C suite. And it's a little bit of a play on words. There's the 4 in there, but the 4 really represents our 4 key pillars of the software offering that we're putting together. And the C's stand for control, connect, collect, and collaborate. So I can just walk through each one of them really, really briefly. So
perfect.
Control, start with the very, very fundamental and the basis. So in bioprocessing, we sell processing systems. So we sell single-use bioreactors. We sell chromatography systems, tangential flow systems. And in order for those systems to operate, they need the pumps to turn on and off, for the valves to open and close. They need a control platform that will kind of the brain that tells them when to do those things. And so the first C in the Bio4C suite is the control platform that we're building. The next C is connect. So how do you get those different process steps or those different unit operations or skids to talk to one another? So for example, if I start off a process with my bioreactor and it's all of a sudden the output is maybe dropping, what do I have from a digital perspective that tells the next process step to slow down a little bit and make those adjustments in an automated way? The next C is collect. So that's talking really about process data. How do I collect the data and not just collect it, but how do I do something meaningful with it so that I can now make decisions quickly. And then finally, collaborate is the fourth C. And that's really about how do we have that space and environment where we're working with our customers from something as simple as a customer portal where they can see the versions of software that they have, what their licenses are looking like, to an evolution of cloud-based platforms that we can deploy to customers. So that's really the Bio4C suite: control, connect, collect, and collaborate.
Okay, so when I hear that I don't do this. I'm not in these suites doing this, but how does that integrate / replace? You know, when I think of control, I think of like an Allen Bradley, HMI on a machine where you're using a Rockwell software. Is it replacing things like that, or is it sort of integrated into stuff like that?
It's integrated in. Integrated into things like that, right? We still need to have PLCs, but our control platform is the code that's written that helps to leverage those different elements that are more standard within the industry, right? And I think the differentiator for us is, we can write that code in a way that leverages our strong knowledge of bioprocessing, right? So what we have this saying within our team that it's built by bioprocessing peers for their bioprocessing peers, right? We do everything we do within the context of have a strong understanding of how a drug is manufactured.
Okay. Wow. All right. So one of the other questions I had on my list here, and I really don't know the answer to this, is this something that is able to be used sort of like, if you will, a little bit more open source? I don't know if that's the right term, but like could other systems that aren't Millipore integrate in with your software to be used?
So for two of the C's, absolutely. So our control is very much embedded into the systems that we sell. But if you think about, especially, and I'll focus on this one, collect, which we just launched, the Bio4C Process Pad, that is open source. That doesn't have to be tied to any MilliporeSigma systems. That can be used and implemented in any manufacturing facility in the world.
All right, awesome. Is that something that you're already doing, or is it just sort of it's available? I don't know how far along you are as far as this being piloted in places. So,
all right, so it's a great question, Jesse. We are very fortunate in that Bio4C Process Pad is actually the result of an acquisition that we made in June of last year. We acquired the Process Pad technology, and the team that initiated the concept and developed it is now part of the MilliporeSigma family, and they work for us, and they're part of my team. And the really great thing that made Bio4C Process Pad so attractive to us is that they already had installations in GMP manufacturing with 7 customers around the globe. So it's a proven technology, and we're it's now part of the Bio4C suite, and we launched 2 weeks ago, and looking to expand our installed base and also looking to build on the capabilities that are in Bio4C Process Pad today.
Yeah, wow. So you really integrated that fast. That's impressive.
Well, we have a great team, and I would say the team that was acquired and has joined us. They're incredible. They're dedicated. They're experienced, and like you said earlier, they're some of the smartest people that I know. And what's really interesting is the founder is not a software developer, right? And this is why we have that mentality of by bioprocessing for bioprocessing, because he came from the bioprocessing side, and was responsible for a lot of the investigations and generation of reports, and saw how much time this was taking his team and him, and that they were really bright people, highly skilled, that didn't have they were being used to gather data, and he saw the need for this tool to automate that. And he went out on his own and created this, and now we've brought it into the Bio4C suite.
I think you definitely got a winner there. I think we're going to start to see. I mean, it's already, this idea is not new in this industry. I think it's everybody kept a lot of their stuff kind of close to the chest, I think. And so everybody's like, I don't know, do we want anybody else handling our, or seeing our data or whatever? And I think we're going to just start to see this explode now, especially with what, like, this sort of once in a lifetime event with COVID and how it's impacted the economy and how we've had to stay home. I think it's just going to explode. So. Oh,
absolutely. And if I could just give, one thing, just some very real benefits. I mean, you asked about what the tangible impact is, and just one of the case studies that I won't mention the customer's name, but they went back in after they implemented Process Pad and figured out how much time they were saving. And it was like 950 person hours per month that were being saved, which is essentially the equivalent of 6 people per month in effort that was being saved by the implementation of Bio4C Process Pad. So, the technologies are really cool and the ideas are cool, but I think at the end of the day, we're really trying to make a real impact and make a real difference. And we want to do things that will help.
Yeah, and move us towards higher value activities, right? So,
yeah,
I think what you've done there is you just, there's nothing wrong with collecting data, but we have things for that nowadays. So let's, and you're making a better one, and so let's get that done, and then let's move towards, what's the point of that data, and what can we do with that data, and how can we, improve our process or end up with a better product as a result of not spending all that time just getting it in the first place. So I
exactly.
think that's great. And I don't know how much is involved, but I assume this will ultimately segue into more AI type work in this arena as well. I don't know if that's something that you guys are doing right now, but I know it's growing. So.
Yeah, and I think there's a definite drive for us to take a look at how do you get to that predictive space. If we go back to that graphic that shows how the plant, driving to a digital autonomous predictive facility, Bio4C Process Pad is the type of capability that you can build on to get to that more predictive mode, right? And how do you leverage your data, both historically, mostly historically, to say, okay, when I see my process starting to do X, Y, and Z, I know I need to adjust to prevent it from being a lost batch, right? Mm-hmm. So really helping customers to save money in that respect and prevent lost batches.
Right. Yeah. And you guys, because of the extent of the technology you guys provide and cover, you're going to be able to start getting that data and working with your customer base to do a better job of that, even beyond what they're able to do, because you guys are just going to have so much more exposure to similar processes from one customer to the next.
Absolutely.
So I definitely, one of my discussions was with another company, and he had mentioned when he worked on the owner side, say packing columns, they would pack a few a year, and it was sort of this art that everybody talked about,
yes,
art,
I hear that too. Yes.
Art of packing a column.
Yes.
And when you only do, 3 of them a year, it kind of is an art, for the guy that's good at it. But, and now he's responsible for hundreds of them,
yes.
In a week sometimes or whatever. And you go, all right, so you get that down to a science. There's no more, oh, well, Johnny used to do it this way. So like, if you were 6'2", you could probably do the same, like
do it that way too.
Doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah.
So, and it sounds silly and it doesn't necessarily apply straight away to some of this digital world, but it is, it's the same thing. It's just on a computer now. So, exactly. You guys are going to have access to a lot better data, a lot better process knowledge than everybody else. So that's awesome. All right. Well, hey, this was really good. I definitely learned a lot, and I want to close this out without going too far over time. So if you could, what's the best way for somebody to engage you guys in regards to like, we want to check this out, we want to learn more about it, what would you suggest somebody do if they were wanting to do that?
So I would go to the MilliporeSigma website. There is a landing page there for the BioContinuum Platform where you can request more information. I would definitely encourage people to go there and see that. And I think also if there's requests for more information about the Bio4C suite, I think our virtual launch event that we held, you're still able to go in and request information via that channel as well. So those are the best ways, I think, to really start to engage with us. And if you'd like to have a discussion, we'd love to talk to you.
Awesome. So what I'll do is I'll make sure that we have links to those, with the video and with the podcast. And I would say I've spent a little bit of time going through this. It's a really nice website, by the way. There's a lot of great information in here. I thought you guys laid it out for a guy like me who's like, whoa, that's neat, but I don't know what you just said. You did a very, very good job there, and I learned quite a bit. So I'll put that. I'll also put a little link to the launch event that you guys had as well. So I just want to say thank you so much for being on today. I appreciate it. I'm glad we got to meet. I got to even meet your dog sort of via audio today. And maybe we'll get to meet at one of these events. I'm at a lot of these events too. So if I'm at one I think you'll be at, I'm going to be looking for you. Okay?
That sounds good, Jesse. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to talk about where the industry is going, and it's going to be a really exciting adventure, I think, over the next several years. So thank you very much.
I agree. Thanks so much. Have a great week.
You too.
Bye.
Thanks again for listening to the Modern BioPharma Podcast. Please reach out if there is someone you'd like us to interview or a topic you'd like us to discuss. We will make it happen. And don't forget to like us on iTunes or subscribe on YouTube. It helps us get the word out. See you next time.